This is a review for the Iron Man anime which aired on G4 TV, and I bought this a couple of months ago with the X-Men anime, and I just recently finished. I watched the X-Men anime when I bought it, but I just recently finished the Iron Man anime. Um, uh, I expected this to be a disappointment, and it was in about 80% of the regard. Um, I might retract that and say it's a 70% disappointment, 30% enjoyment. For the character interaction in between the protagonist and the antagonist of this, which I'll get to shortly. Everything else about this anime is kind of throwaway. It'll leave a bad taste in your mouth, but it's so forgettable that it won't stay there that long. Um, the plot is simple and it's dull. Tony Stark goes to Japan to build a new arc reactor which will provide the people of Japan with free energy, safe energy, and unlimited energy. And his plan is eventually to spread this to the world. And obviously, there are a lot of people out there that are trying to stop him. The main organization that's out to do this is Zodiac. And I'm not really familiar with them from the comics. I actually enjoyed the portrayal of Zodiac that I saw in Avengers United They Stand back in the day much better than I saw here. Zodiac are limited to nothing more than just being giant robots for Iron Man to easily cut through. Usually one per episode, so that's kind of a letdown. Uh, the story is a letdown. Majority of the characters really are letdowns. Everything is a stereotype in this anime. Uh, I can't appreciate the Stranger in a Strange Land story. You know, Warren Ellis admitted himself that this is kind of what they were doing on the behind the scenes featurette, but even by his own admission, he was kind of limited by the studio, or at least by Marvel, about what that he wrote of the script and made it into the anime, which kind of sucks. And I think even Loeb admitted himself that there was kind of limited about what they could do in this show, and they kind of basically I basically screwed Warren Ellis over on using his script majority wise. Um, the characters in this are kind of throwaway. The little reporter girl that is always trying to get interviewed by Tony is throwaway. The photographer that follows her around is throwaway. Dr. Tanaka, useless. There's an interesting twist which is done with her at the end, but it's also kind of throwaway. And probably the biggest eyesore of this is the pointless Wolverine cameo for the fourth episode. No lie, it sucked. And we're trying to tie this in with the Wolverine anime, which I'm still going to watch, but I'm not going to have too much high hopes for. Um, Madhouse Studios, or at least any animes that have giant robots, any robots, or giant mech armors, usually has good CG to go along with this. This hands down sucks. It looks cheap. I mean, it's not Armored Adventures bad, but it's Kairos kind of bad. Um, the biggest highlight of this anime to me is the character stuff that they do with Tony. Obviously, he's uh, the thing that I didn't expect this to do is provide a good character examination of Tony Stark and the transition that he made from that day that he was captured by um, the Afghani terrorists in the cave, and where he got the arc reactor in his chest and built the suit of armor. This is kind of mostly a character examination of how well that he's transitioned into being more of a resilient type of businessman as opposed to a weapons maker and a warmonger. Uh, and if this is Warren Ellis's writing, at least in this regard, making through, they did damn good with this. And the same thing for the main protagonist of Iron Man in this anime, which I was completely taken by surprise that they used him as a villain, but Ho Yinsen. Ho Yinsen is not the main villain of this series. He's sort of the right hand to it, but what they did with him was outstanding. This is kind of like if This is kind of like what they did with Earth's Mightiest Heroes, where they took Bucky and made him uh, sort of a rogues gallery to Captain America after Cap learns who when Bucky was posing as the Winter Soldier. Um, the flashback scene, which annoyed me at first that we had to retread this ground, actually provided the basis for the reason why Yinsen acts the way he does throughout the course of this anime. Um, Obviously, when he first met Tony Stark, he makes no secret of the fact that he hates him, which I find a more believable response than what they did with the first Iron Man movie. Um, Eventually he does help him, and that's my mom chasing the cat around. But what they did with Ho Yinsen helping Iron Man, and I pretty much thought that was it for him, but they actually revealed that he stole a powerful armor and is pretty much sabotaging a lot of stuff for Tony Stark was pretty good. And what they did with, there's no real explanation of how he survived being shot and got brought back to life, but apparently he settled down and had a second life, and something to do with Stark, which was never taken care of, destroyed that new life that he made for himself, and he's out to get after Tony. I'm not going to say entirely how what this thing was that played out, but it added a whole lot of depth and it explained so much. It was a motivation for a villain that made sense of why he would snap, which is that and Tony's struggle to maintain to be this person that Yinsen taught him to be uh, is so well done. Is it worth buying this anime for? Hell no. Um, if I had to recommend this anime to anybody besides the fact that they're obviously an Iron Man fan or an anime fan, um, Netflix this and go through it just for the rivalry in between Tony Stark and Ho Yinsen throughout this anime. You're throwing down a little bit of money for something which will, admittedly, I will say, utterly disappoint you at the end, but it does have some really good character stuff going on in it that at least warrants you renting this and checking it out. And then after that, you never have to watch it again. So, uh, the rivalry is really the only thing I'm going to recommend this for. Aside from that,